Welcome back. This week we're going to tie my landing strip. This fly was designed, after I was fishing one of Kelly's TNA variations during runoff. And I just found that in runoff, that wasn't exactly the pattern to go to, just because, it gets so slender, and then, with just a thread head or a cone head, whatever it may be, it doesn't quite push enough water. So I wanted something that had all the motion in the Marabou, but also retained some bulk and pushed some water. So through a couple of failed designs and a few different ideas, came up with a landing strip, and this one's been one of the high water patterns that I go to, if it's not deer hair, the dungeons and everything that push a pile of water just because of the bulky deer hair head, those are still some of my favorites to fish during runoff. But I found that this Marabou just pulsates a little bit, and then the way the head's built, it also pushes a decent amount of water. So we'll go ahead and get into this one. This is the bigger version. This is the first one that I came out with, or the first one that I designed, and then the Brazilian followed it. It's just the scaled down version of the landing strip. But we're going to do this one in two-toned olive today. We're going to do a straight olive and then olive brown, and we'll get those. We'll do that. I do this in tan, like an Oreo, like black, gray, white mix, and then straight black. I'll do a couple, like yellow and brown or whatever, but for the most part, those are the four colors that I do these in. So we'll go ahead and get started. Like I said, this is the bigger version. So this is an MFC 7050 size 4 for our back hook. And we'll go ahead and just start with some olive Marabou. Now this is straight olive right here. I'm gonna pick through these and try and get some good ones. And really all we're doing is just Palmer and Marabou, and then just like the original TNA, but then we're gonna add some bulk to it as we go. Peel a little bit more of that back. So we'll go ahead and just tie that in, and then we're just going to half hitch, and then we're going to open loop that Marabou up to, as far as it'll go for us. So I'm just going to grab this in the back here, grab my hackle pliers, set that in, make sure that my hand's staying out of the way, and then, like I said, just open loop that right up to the front portion, or until you run out of usable feather or it breaks on you and you got to start over, whichever one comes first. See, we're starting this video off real well. Try and find a little bit more secure of a piece right there to grab onto, and we'll just do that again. There we go. We'll just fluff that out a little bit. Everything's looking pretty clean. And then I just want to take, I better get that before it goes away on me. Yep, there we go. And then I'm just taking that back. I'm capturing all of that Marabou, and I'm running it back about halfway. Or halfway back from where I originally tied it in. There we go. Everything's pretty good and secure right there. And you can see we have the beginning of a little flapper tail of Marabou right there. Get that cradle out of the way. Now we're going to go into what gives this fly its bulk. This is some Arctic foxtail in olive. And I'm just going to cut a clump of this off And we're gonna go right about like this. So this keeps some of your Marabou from compressing down completely, because you have this medium in there to, like, this isn't going to compress much in the water. It's not going to accept water like the Marabou does. So what this is going to do is keep that Marabou from slicking down the whole way over this hook. And it does retain a little bit of bulk throughout the fly. Now I'm just going to clean this up. What I used to do is tie these in by the tips and reverse tie it and peel everything back. I found that that got too bulky. It was too heavy. It just didn't quite, it was too much. It really was. After watching it swim for a while and casting it repeatedly was a chore, to say the least. So now all I do really is I just take my tips and set that in, and I roll my fingers down to the side so I'm getting like half coverage. And then I just tie this in, secure it in place. And you can see we have just that little bit of fox going over the back, and then I'm just gonna trim that at an angle and then make some clean wraps over the top of that and just clean everything up real nice. So now that we have that, another thing that I added to this one is just a subtle amount of flash. We're talking like 1 or 2 turns of UV. And you see, like a lot of my patterns, I use this UV polar. I'm a big fan of this stuff. I just think it's really versatile, and you can add as much or as little flash as you want on this. Like I said, I'm gonna do about a turn or 2, and that's gonna be it. So I'm just gonna take this, I'm gonna go 1, 2, that's all I want. That's all I want right there. I don't want so many wraps to where the thread or the core on that UV polar is going to make a lot of bulk that I have to try and tie around when I'm palmering my feather moving forward. So just those 1 to 2 wraps, just nice and easy, just real subtle flash going through here. And then I'm going to make 1 or 2 wraps, cover that up just to move those fibers going toward the back of the hook. And everything's sitting how we want it. You can see we have just very little flash in there, but when this gets wet, even fishing the muddier water, you know, when you don't have a ton of light penetration, that flash still does show up a little bit. So I was really happy with the way that performed in the water. So now, to finish up our back hook, I'm gonna find a better Marabou piece here. I'm just gonna palmer 1 more piece of Marabou. Trash can closer to me there. And same thing. Just go ahead, run that right to the front. We're gonna 1/2 hitch, get this back in the cradle. Now we're gonna try and find a little bit more secure of a stem to hold on to here. And then I just wanna open loop this up to the front, preening these fibers back as I go forward. Just making 1 wrap right in front of the next. There we go, everything's looking pretty good for us. Let me get 1 more wrap right in front of that eye, and then I'm going to set everything in place. My hand's still out of the way for the most part. I just want to get a solid wrap right there. Trim that off, and then I'm just going to clean this up. I'm going to peel these fibers back. I'm going to clean this up slightly, and then probably 4 to 5 wraps back just to get my Marabou a little bit more secure going toward the back. Everything's flowing there, and then I cover up a few of the stem wraps as well so a tooth won't get in there and rip everything apart for me. So now that that's done, I can just go ahead and whip finish this back section. And then we're ready to go on to the front hook. Now you can see on this one, we'll see how well it comes through on that back camera there. But there's a little, you can see that internal flash just a little bit. Let me click this light on and see if that won't help it show up a little bit. But you can see that internal flash through there, just ever so subtle. Like I said, 1 to 2 wraps on that UV and it gives you exactly what you want, and you don't have to fight too awful much with the core from the UV going forward. So 1 to 2 wraps, just make sure it's good and secure, go ahead and tie it off, and then that's all you really need. Last thing, before I take this out of the vise, I'm just going to color this up. I got a tan sitting next to me, so tan's what it's going to be. That's all going to get covered here in a minute anyhow, so I'll go ahead and grab some wire here. This is, as always, 19 strand Beadalon, 38 thousandths. Go ahead and get that secure, and then I'm just going to pick some beads out for the landing strip. I go with two beads. For the Brazilian, I do 1. So I'm going to throw those 2 in there, get that off to the side, and then we're bringing a 7008 size 4. This is a 4x long hook. The back was a 3x long, so we're going to lengthen that out just a little bit. And then go ahead and start your thread, and we're going to throw some dumbbell eyes in. I'm just going to get a good thread base going down through here, preparing for my wire, and then also coming back here to get our eyes in. So these are a size medium, yellow dumbbell eye. You can go up to a large if you want. It seemed to be a little bit too much for me, but if you want a little bit extra weight, you can go ahead and do that. The medium seems to be enough, in my opinion, so that's what I go with. I'm going to get my eyes secure on the top, make a couple of wraps just around the eyes itself and the thread wraps that are already there, and then figure 8 over the top. Things are starting to secure pretty good. I'll put those to the bottom and then grab some zap. Just touch that on the top and the bottom, and then I'll get a few more securing wraps with the lead eyes. Everything seems pretty good so far. Alright, and then the only other thing I need to worry about is that my eyes are nice and even. It's not going to be forcing my fly to kick to one side or the other. Make sure that they're lined up on the bottom and everything looks pretty good. Onto our back hook, we're going to go ahead and connect this. As always, make sure your wires are running parallel. Go ahead and separate those 2 beads. You can see the wires running parallel there. Get a better look at that now. Everything is how we want it. We're going to have that wire off to the side. Just make a few loose wraps, and then I'm going to bring this in just slightly. I only want really about a bead's width back there for the gap on that wire loop. I don't really want too awful much more, because then it has a tendency to want to foul on you or something along those lines. So I shorten that connection a little bit. There we go. Like I said, I just shorten that connection slightly. About a bead's width is all I really want. So now same thing, I'm just doubling these wires over, Bring that around, and then I want a few secure wraps right over top of those wires, just to kind of fold everything down, squeeze this stuff in place a little bit better. Not that there's any worry of it going anywhere with it being doubled over like that, but it's just a good habit to get into. If you're not doubling your wires over, make sure you get some really good secure wraps to hold those in place for you. Now we're going to go to an olive brown Marabou. I'm just going to go ahead and pick out my 3 plumes right now. Hopefully that's all I need. Sometimes if it's a little bit sparse, especially on the landing strip, you'll have to go up to 4. But I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to get that done in 3. Get the olive brown out of the way. Oh man. Been tying like crazy here these last couple of days, probably sitting around 200 flies over the last 3 to 4 days. I think I'm starting to get bed sores from sitting in this chair. Alright, enough of me belly aching. Go ahead and secure this in place. Same thing as before. There's really nothing new on this one. We're going to change up one step on the front hook from what we did on the back, but outside of that, there's really nothing new on this. I'll make sure I get that feather face in the direction that I want it, and just open loop right to the front. Looking clear right there. And then we'll go ahead and trim that, get that out of our way, and then same thing, we're just going to peel all of this stuff back and run right over top, probably go about halfway back. Our wraps, everything is sitting about how we want it. Now we're going to go back to our Arctic Fox. I'm going to take a little bit more in this one than I did on the back hook. Just adding a little bit more bulk on this. You can see for reference that's about what I'm going to be grabbing right there. A lot of that is going to come out when I comb this, so it's not going to be as bulky as what it looks right now. A lot of this is going to come out running that through the comb. So now that's about what we have. That's about what we're looking at. And I want this going back into right about where my back hook is, right about where the eye is. And then I'm just rolling this down once again with my fingers on both sides. Get a nice loose wrap, couple in there, and then just make sure everything's sitting how you want it. If you have loose wraps, you can push that down a little bit more before you secure everything in place. You can take a look on the underneath side, make sure you have no interference or anything. And then once again, I'm just going to cut that at an angle and reduce the surface area that I'm going to have wrapping this forward. Gives us a nice little slope, a nice little transition. There's not going to be like a big bump or anything in the body of that fly. Not that you would see it because of the Palmered Marabou, but it makes it easier to palmer the Marabou if there's not a big bump right there. So back to our olive brown, and you'll see like I did on the back one where I did the fox and the flash in the same step. I'm going to do those in separate steps on this one. I'm going to have the flash a little bit further forward. If you want to on this, what you could do before you tie in your first plume of Marabou on the front hook, you could take some Flashabou, I don't know, 4 or 6 strands, whatever you want on each side. If you feel that it needs a little bit more flash, I don't personally. When I fish them, I like them this way. I like them with the little amount of flash in there as possible. But if you want, you can go ahead and throw a couple extra strands in there. Same thing, just palmer your Marabou forward. We're going to be able to get that done with 3 feathers, no doubt about it. As long as I don't break the last one. There we go. Everything's looking pretty good for us. I just want to peel all this stuff back. A couple of wraps back, probably about halfway back from the tie-in point to where it ended. And you can see it's really just starting to come together now. It's starting to fill everything in. It's not looking like 2 flies anymore. It's looking like one singular fly going the entire way back. And we're going to go back to our flash. We're going to go back to, this is the olive brown UV puller. Get that tied in. And then 1/2 inch. And then just 2 quick wraps with that puller. That's going to add our little bit of flash that we want. Just 1 and 2. Go ahead and tie that off. Trim that out. Just get a nice couple of clean wraps going right through there. And there's our little bit of flash that we're after once again. Now on to our last plume of Marabou here. That whole feather is pretty much usable. Before I tie this one in, I had a question. I can't remember the gentleman's name. I'd have to look at it here, but I had a question on tying in Marabou or hackle. Because I mentioned, that I watch a lot of Kelly's videos, and that's pretty much where I got the start on tying the bigger streamers. It was his DVDs back in the day. I don't know how long ago that was. I've got a couple of them in there. But he was asking me about the way that I tie in my Marabou when I'm going to palmer it. And Kelly will do that figure 8 over the top of it. Me, I just lay it right on the top. Right like that. I tie it in place. I leave a little bit of stem right there that I'm able to work with, and I can rotate the feather one direction or the other. It's just what I've always done. I'm sure if you would ask Kelly, he's probably tied the figure 8 style for his entirety. It's just what he got used to. This is what I got used to, and that's really the difference between the two. Both methods are going to get you where you want to go. His is a little bit cleaner to start with because his feather is sticking out at a 90 and it's already in a position to make the proper turn and be facing the right orientation and all of that. Mine's just kind of sitting over the top right now, but I leave that little bit right there that I'm able to manipulate it and get the feather going the direction that I want it to. So that's really the only difference between the two. And you can see, once again, let me get my arm out of the way. There's that little bit that I have right there. And let me try and get this down. So this one's going just the way that I want it to. The package side's facing forward, so I don't have to fight it at all. But if I had to, you'll see me sometimes that I'll just kind of move this around a little bit to get the feather going the direction that I want it. Either method you use, like I said, it's going to get it done for you. The biggest thing is just make sure that your feather is facing the right direction, and you'll know because you can see how all of these feathers are kind of peeling back toward the tail of the fly. If they were going the opposite direction, you knew that your orientation was off and you were wrapping your feather the wrong way. So tried Kelly's method a few times. I mean, it works great. It does. I mean, obviously, I mean, he's one of the better fly tires out there. But it's just, you know, I got used to tying them in this direction, and it was just a little bit awkward for me is all. So I just went back to this way because I know that it works, and I'm a little bit more proficient at it and a little bit quicker. So that's all I got to say about that. Alright, now you can see, let me make sure my other side looks good. We got that internal flash again, just very minimal through the front and the back. And it's really taken on that TNA shape. Now here's the difference that we have. One of the main differences, you know, minus the Arctic Fox and the flash in the internal as opposed to the Flashaboo. We're going to build this head out of laser dub. And before I do that, I want to take and just peel all of this stuff back, and I'm going to throw a straw in there. And I'm going to start with just a little collar or a throat on this one. And it's just red Senyos. I do this on the landing strips, not the Brazilians, for some reason. Don't ask me why. Maybe I got lazy when I was tying the first couple, but for whatever reason, I don't throw a throat on the Brazilians, just the landing strips. If you wanted to here as well, you could throw some lateral lines down there with some hackle or whatever it may be. I don't do them on mine, but feel free to do it if you want. And then we'll just peel this stuff back. We've got a nice red throat of laser dub sitting right in there. I got Marabou in my nose. And now for this one, we're going to mix a little bit of olive and Sculpin olive to finish this off. The olive's a little too bright for me. The Sculpin olive's a little bit too brown, so we're going to mix these two together. Hopefully come up with something a little bit more appealing than just what's offered to us in the standard colors. Try and match us a little bit better. You could throw some brown in there, maybe a streak of black if you wanted to. Just play around with it a little bit, figure out which color you like the best. This is what I've been tying here lately, is just this Sculpin olive and olive mix. Get out of there. And I'm going to tell you, when you're tying this, especially around dumbbell eyes, less is more. Don't try and get a ton in here. It just doesn't, the head winds up being way too bulky and it overtakes the fly. Just a nice little cup right there. I'm going to peel all that stuff down, 1, 2, give a nice secure wrap, and then get a few loose wraps after the fact. Grab another section here. That's probably just a little bit too much. I'm going to get some of that out of there. And then I'm just going to take and stack this in my hands. Make sure that I have a good solid center section right there. Wrap that around my thread, get the cup, place it right in front of that red throat. 1, 2, may have been a third, who knows. And then just get a nice tight wrap. We're going to put one right on top. That's a little bit too much. Right on top, we're going to put our third stack in. And right in front of these dumbbell eyes. There's our third. Get a nice tight wrap, secure that down to the hook. And then 2 more wraps and we're going to be done with this one. Same thing. I just want a nice clean bundle right there. I'm going to take that up. 1, 2 loose wraps. Now that you have those loose wraps in place, get another one down and really pull that down tight. And what that's going to do is, it's with the gel spun, it's going to tighten those wraps, the previous wraps that you made. It's just going to sink that down, and it's going to take that gel spun and suck it right up to that laser dub, right onto the hook, and everything's nice and secure now. That stuff's not going anywhere for you. Get a couple of wraps there, and then one last stack on the very top, right in front of that down eye. Get a couple of wraps, and then go ahead and whip finish. There we go. Go ahead and cut that, get the thread out of your way. I'm going to touch this up once again with just a little bit of tan, just kind of dull that thread down a little bit. Get that on the underneath side. Everything looks pretty clean on that back. Oh, where did we go? I just want to brush this laser dub out slightly on the top and the bottom. We got everything sitting how we want it right there. Let me see if I can rotate that just slightly. Right like that. And then I'm going to come through here and I'm just going to shape this. Just a nice little rounded section right there. It may be a little bit too tall on the back. Yeah, that looks better. That looks better. And then same thing underneath. I'm going to cut that a little bit shorter on the underneath side. Just kind of round that out. Looking pretty clean for us right there. We're going to peel that straw off. Get this out of here. I'm just going to kind of shake this thing around a little bit because the Marabou winds up getting trapped. Or the straw just peels that Marabou around for you a little bit. Set that back in the vise, get that in the cradle, and we'll give you a quick spin of it. So again, we'll kick this light on in the back. You can see that internal flash just a little bit as we spin this from the UV puller. But that is the completed landing strip. Got a little bit of red right there in the collar. Just pops a little bit. I like it especially on the black and tans. It just really pops. The olive, I mean, it looks good on the olive, but it really pops on the black and tan, on those two colors especially. But feel free to do these in any color that you wish, you know, depending on your preference. Some people have confidence colors, whatever color you really want to go with on this. Simple pattern to tie, pretty quick, pretty easy. But that is a landing strip. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them with me and I'll get back to you. But thanks for watching as always, and we'll catch you next Wednesday.